Hi everybody, it's Russ from My Hammers 11. Hope you're all safe and well. If you're new to the channel, obviously please subscribe and hit the little bell notification so you're aware of as soon as we put new content on. Lots of great guests coming up, including today's guest. You would have recognised him. He's a regular contributor to the West Ham podcast scene. When he's not doing that, he's the founder and CEO of Picfair. You'll see the little product placement behind him, as well as as it says on his Twitter bio, a recovering journalist, which I quite like as a way of saying. It's Benji Lanyado. Hi, Benji. How are you, man?
I'm well, Russ. Thanks for having me.
Absolute pleasure. Appreciate your time. Basically, we're obviously interviewing lots of people all over the world, different ages, all West Ham fans about their memories of West Ham, and also the players that meant something to them in this period where we can't obviously create new memories as we don't have any football at the moment, which is it started off weird. Now it's just getting the norm. Now it's even stranger. But
who knows? Looks like it might be on its way back. I'm not sure how I feel about it, to be honest. But
yeah.
It might not be too far off now.
I think every other league apart from is looking at the Bundesliga and seeing how that's going to run and just copy them, basically. Copy the Germans. So in terms of you, Benji, obviously, a lifelong Hammer. Earliest memories. Anything. Sort of your earliest recollection of West Ham.
So all of my love of West Ham is all because of my Uncle Jeff. So listeners to the Stop Hammer Time podcast and the Totally Football Show would have heard of Uncle Jeff. So he was born in Whitechapel. So he was a natural West Ham fan. And he started taking me when I was very young. And I was actually thinking about it ahead of this. My first ever West Ham game, I think it was the 91-92 season. And it's an away game. So Uncle Jeff and my cousins got in the car, and I can't even remember knowing what I was doing, but it was away at Villa Park, and we lost 3-1 because, of course, we lost. And Kenny Brown scored, and actually that meant that for the first couple of years as a West Ham fan, brilliant. I was an obsessive Kenny Brown fan. But I think probably when I really started going properly was 93, 94. And for quite a long time, my Uncle Jeff used to slip the guy on the turnstile a fiver, and we'd sit four of us on 3 seats. So I'd sort of squeeze in between my cousins or Uncle Jeff, and that's when it all started. So probably in earnest, mid 90s was when I really got obsessed with it. But first game 91-92, which is the kit that I'm wearing today. This is the 91-92 kit.
Yeah. That's
the
very
AC windows on.
Oh, God bless it. So you really got into it when we were you sort of a glory hunter because we were in the Premier League that season. We got promoted in it that season before. So someone I spoke to the other day, he was. Go for it, man.
Sorry, not going Russ. I was just saying the game that really sticks in my mind in that period was the promotion game when we beat Cambridge United 2-0.
Yeah.
I think it was David Speedy we had up front or whatever, and then there was the pitch invasion at the end.
Clive Allen
Clive Allen and David Speedy got the goals, and that I remember vividly as one of the first games that really got me. And then they were in the Premier League.
I remember that game really well. I mean, that was the first season I started going, was 92-93 season, and I remember that game so clearly because I think I was on the lower west tier, and I was sort of near where the overhang was with the upper tier, and a rope ladder went flying over from the top tier, and it almost hit me. I remember that, and people were literally climbing down. Yeah, I think it got for a few people climbing down to get on the pitch. That was absolutely mental, right? And obviously, sort of 91 onwards, lots of memories. Any sort of which stick out as like really fond ones, really sort of ones which stay in your heart.
Okay, yeah, good question. I don't know why, but I really quite vividly remember the 4-1 win against Man City when Dix got a couple of free kicks and Danny was playing and Danny scored.
God bless him, yeah.
Danny, lock up your daughters, Danny. I can't remember what year would that have been. Maybe like 96, 97, something.
Yeah, it would have been Redknapp, wasn't it? A Redknapp, sort of early-ish Redknapp time, wasn't it?
Yeah, and I remember it because I spent most of my time at West Ham sitting in the East Stand Upper. And for whatever reason, it was me, my mate and my brother-in-law ended up sitting in what became the Centenary Lower next to the away fans. And it was a gorgeous hot day. And Julian Dix scored a couple of absolute thunderbolt free kicks, which is what he did.
Yeah.
And then Danny scored. And it was just this brilliant day. And it was also, this is bad, but it was the first time I really got to antagonise away fans because I was right next to them. And I know that's bad, but it was one of those moments, especially when you're, I was probably like 11 or 12 or something. I just felt like I was having the best day of my life. It was amazing.
Oh, brilliant! Yeah, I remember when I was with my granny, we used to be in their family enclosure on the centenary upper right front row, and so you could see all that. Used to be fun watching it, and because I had like a bird's eye view of the chicken run, sort of the chicken run versus the away fans. Absolutely brilliant! Great fun. Right, that's really cool. And it's funny how you said like we've had quite a few people with like random games of like stuck in their memory, like a 0-0 draw at Norwich and stuff like that. It's absolutely brilliant.
That's another one actually. Do you know what? One of the most memorable games, again, out to Park was a 0-0, which was the game that never was, the Maniomi game. Do you remember that the Villa penalty shootout?
Yeah.
Because. Oh no, was it a 0-0? I can't remember what it. No, it wasn't a 0-0. Sorry, but
no.
The reason the reason I remember it so vividly is that we were 2-1 down going into the last minute of whether it was normal time or extra time, and we brought Paul Kitson on to try and score. Last gasp effort off the bench.
Yeah.
And there was this guy who was an absolute bruiser that used to sit maybe sort of 10 seats up. When you're like a teenage boy, you're fascinated by these absolute brick proverbial houses that are tattoos everywhere, skinhead, a proper, probably was in the ICF and all this kind of thing. And he happened to be walking out just as Paul Kitson got fouled for a last-minute penalty. And so suddenly this absolute bruiser was standing next to me as, I think it was Di Canio, took the penalty and scored. And he picked me up and like lifted me like a foot off the ground and was squeezing me like you wouldn't believe. And I thought it was the coolest thing ever. Yeah. But yeah, that's another one. And it's a game that then got struck off the record because of Omi in me. Anyways, that's another random one that I remember.
I love it. I remember like there's games I remember where I think it was a Villa game again, and it was in the league. It must have been early 2000s, and it was the worst game of football I've ever seen in my life. And I remember it so vividly because I think Villa scored the first minute. I think we scored in the 90th minute, and nothing happened for the 88 minutes in between. It was like brilliant. I just remember it was a horrible game. Yeah, football. Right, cool. Right, as I said, what we're doing as well is we're sort of talking about players as well. Now we try and sort of have some sort of parameters. If we can. One is we try and keep it to a 4-4-2, but I'm not really fussed now.
I've gone 4-4-2.
That's brilliant. That's perfect. That's perfect. Yeah. My video editing skills have been somewhat tested by speaking to older gentlemen who have inside lefts and left halves and.
Still don't know what that is.
I still haven't a clue. I haven't got a clue. 4-4-2. Next one is that we make sure that that you're alive to see him play, obviously.
Yep, done that.
So obviously, you and me, you couldn't put in Bobby Moore, but we could put in Danny Collins, for example.
Sure.
Sorry if it's a spoiler.
Danny Collins.
Don't you remember Danny Collins?
Last time I talked about Danny Collins.
Exactly. Well, he's back. He's back. Danny Collins. Well, you said Manny on the minimum. I mean, that was the last time. I can't remember the last time someone's managed him as a player. And the last one is it's your 11, so it doesn't have to be the best players. It's the players that could mean something to you. It may be the 11 players you enjoyed singing at the most or shouting at the most. It doesn't really matter. So it's all about you, basically, Benji. So who's going to be in between the sticks for your team then?
So this is hard. By the way, this is the last time I had to think long and hard about my favourite West Ham players was 2 years ago at my wedding when my now wife was in charge of more or less everything. I think I was looking after food and bits and bobs. And the one thing that she did give me responsibility was naming the tables at the wedding. So I think we had something like 12 or 13 tables, and I named them all after my favourite West Ham players. Brilliant. And also, and this is the thing I was proudest of, I also had them in a formation, really. So they were like, the goalie was and the defenders were at this end, and as you moved along the kind of hall, you had the midfielders and the strikers. Anyway, so yeah, a lot of those names on that for my wedding day have made it into this one. Brilliant. But I had Ludo on my wedding day. I'm not going for Ludo. I'm going for Shaka Hislop. Because for two reasons. Firstly, I just felt he was cool. Yeah. And he was we had a couple of spells with Shaka, I think, but he was just a really good, solid keeper. And also, the reason I love Shaka is the only time that I'd ever started a chant at a game was to do with Shaka, which was, I think it was West Brom away, and me and my mate Andy, who I go to most away games with, just started singing Trinidad's number one, Trinidad's number one, and all of the West Ham fans joined in. Shaka turned round, gave us a thumbs up because he was about to go to the World Cup with Trinidad and Tobago as well, so that was all good fun. And it was an end of season game, and we'd secured our status in the league, so it was just a sort of fun day out.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm going for Shaka Hislop.
Brilliant, absolutely brilliant guy.
I think, by the way, not if I was to choose the best, I would have said Rob Green. I think Rob Green is prime, maybe even Fab. You know, Fab might be the best West Ham goalkeeper I've ever seen.
I'm in that.
Shaka,
Yeah.
especially in my heart.
No, I know what you mean. And speaking about the wedding, that was like me. My wife, she organised everything. I just said, look, there's one thing I want, and that is to basically do the colour scheme for the wedding. And she was like, what? It's like, yeah, you can do, you know, we'll pay for all of it. And I just want the colour scheme. She went, what colour scheme? Then she, even before she finished the question, she went, you want claret and blue, don't you? I was like, yep, that's all I want. That's all I want. I love it. But yeah, Shaka's the man. Shaka was the man, weren't he? He was cool. Is that sort of laid back, sort of Caribbean type of vibe, weren't he? He was just brilliant.
And I love seeing West Ham players at international tournaments, and seeing him at the World Cup was brilliant.
Yeah, that's brilliant. All right, Shaka's in. Who are we going to have at left back then, Benji?
So both my fullbacks are from the era in which I fell in love with West Ham. And for me, it's just got to be Dixie. It has to be.
Yeah.
He was the first poster that I had in my room. You can probably picture they used to sell them on Green Street, these big like A0 posters of Julian, full skinhead, you know, running down the wing, looking like an absolute maniac.
Yeah.
And yeah, I absolutely love Dixie, and it broke my heart that he never played for England. I almost, when he went to Liverpool, I almost was like, good on him. I want him to go there and improve himself, and it's never quite worked out, did it? But has to be Julian Dixie left back, and at right back it's Steve Potts.
Potsy.
Now Potsy I loved again because my first few seasons at Upton Park, I think he was Hammer of the Year in both seasons. Really solid player. And he played at centre back quite a bit as well, which for a guy that was only like 5'8", 5'9", it's very impressive. You don't see that much. I mean, like, you know, Mascherano's maybe a modern example, but Potsy, I just thought he was class. Like, you know, his perfect side parting haircut. He never put in a crap performance. Like I really liked him. In fact, I tell you what, I've got a good story about Steve Potts. This was it must have been early noughties. So Steve Potts finished his career at Dagenham and Redbridge, right? And I had a mate of mine who was a huge Southport fan. And it happened that Southport were playing away at Dagenham and Redbridge. And all I knew about Dagenham and Redbridge was that's where Steve Potts was. Yeah. So I was like, well, obviously I'll come. And so we went to Dagenham and Redbridge, and we were in the away fans, and there were 9 of us. There were 9 Southport away fans, and Potsy got sent off after half an hour. So I was like, oh, okay, right, I'm just going to have to support Southport now. And Southport ended up winning 3-0, and me and my mate were standing right behind the goal, and we were involved in what I swear must have been one of the only goal celebrations where the players mobbed the fans. Yeah. There were more players than fans behind the goal, all going mad. And yeah, anyway, all of that was because I'd gone to see what Potsy was like, you know, in his dotage.
Oh, bless him. Oh, that's
Good
great.
player.
Yeah, lovely. Yeah, nice guys. You said that side parting never a hair out of place, was it? It was even after
Absolutely
90 minutes. Inception. Right, okay. So
born in America as well. Born in the States, Potts, which I never realised. He's born in Connecticut. I was looking at his Wikipedia recently. Yeah. Did he have an American accent, or was he just born there and came over here?
I think he was born there and came over here because he left. That was, he finished Dagenham Redbridge. Then he came back and was a coach. I think he might still be involved in the club at the moment on the academy.
Yeah.
And famously I believe he was a taxi driver in between coming back to the club.
That's right.
around my neck of the woods. Actually, so but yeah, same as Smashy Abu. He's a taxi driver around my neck of the woods apparently as well.
You're joking, is he?
No, it's very true. One of someone I know who's a West Ham fan apparently got in one of his Ubers or something. Yeah, but how could you imagine? Because he's crazy. It's not like he's a normal-looking man. Yeah, his massive eyes and dreadlocks. He probably still has the dreads. Basically. Right. Okay. So we'll put Potsy on the right. We'll put Dixie on the left. Who are we going to the centre backs then, Benji?
Centre backs. First of all, it had to be Rio.
Yeah.
Very sort of slightly personal one. I grew up in Southeast London, and he grew up in Peckham as well. And he was becoming sort of brilliant again, just at the time that I was getting into football.
Yeah.
To the extent that my next door neighbour knew a guy in his class at school called Moses Junju. Do you remember Moses Junju, youth player? I mean, notable because he had 4 J's in his surname, which is extraordinary. And anyway, me, my next door neighbour, and Moses used to hang out quite a bit. And Moses played for West Ham at the time, and he was actually in the same intake as Defoe when we picked him up from Charlton. Yeah. I mean, it's a difficult story, I think, because he was basically told whoever scores more goals out of you and Defoe will take on. And he got like 20 goals, Moses, and Jermaine got 45 or whatever. Anyway, they once came back from the Lewisham bowling alley on Belmont Hill, and they couldn't wait to knock on my door when they got back, because they'd been there outside the bowling alley, and Rio had pulled up in his Z3 or whatever it was and leant out the window and be like, "You all right, Moses?" And I was supposed to go with him, and I didn't. And I was like, "Oh my God, I could have met Rio Ferdinand." Oh, no. And anyway, I loved Rio. And when he first started as well, I had a skinhead for most of my teens. And believe it or not, people used to say that I looked like Rio quite a bit. So when I walked into my seat in the East Stand Upper, people always used to be like, "Rio, Rio, Rio," which I absolutely loved. So, and also, I think that this kind of raft of players that we had in that period, some left in a good way, some left in a bad way. Rio indisputably left in a good way. And I still remember when he scored for Leeds, I think the season we sold him, he scored in front of the Centenary, and all the West Ham fans clapped him back to the halfway line. It was a really nice ending to his time. So Rio's my first choice.
Good shout.
And the second choice is Winston Reid. Now, Winston Reid, I think there's probably better players like Alvin Martin at centre back, but Winston, I think at his peak was a Champions League quality defender. It didn't last that long, and it's a bit of a tragedy his injury record. But at his peak, I thought he was a real world-class centre-back, actually. And I thought it was a matter of time before a top 4 team came and got him. And also just because of that goal, the winner at the last game of the Bowl-In, which is my happiest moment as a West Ham fan. And I will forever be grateful for that moment. So, it had to be Winston.
Exactly. And as you said, you like international players playing at a world stage. And obviously, we were signing just after the World Cup. And when they said, I remember the club, we're signing at World Cups. I thought, who's it going to be? Like Perlo, Nesta, and this like guy from New Zealand turns up. We bought from Denmark for like £3 million or whatever. But he was
excellent. He, in the Championship, he was excellent. I really felt that there was a little while where I'm very, very into my stats. And there was a little while when Winston Reid's aerial statistics were unbelievable. He basically won every header that every aerial duel he was involved with. Just such a real shame that injury has held him back, because I think he had it in him to go right to the top. But for that goal, if nothing else, he's in.
Yeah, because I remember like Liverpool, weren't they reportedly like sniffing around him at one time? And exactly. Winnie Reid, good shout. And as you said, that goal, he goes down in folklore history, doesn't he? So, okay.
Very much so.
Right, okay, that's defence. Let's go midfield. Let's go left wing then, Benji.
So my wingers are kind of interchangeable.
Sure, I like that,
and just to shout out to the ones that didn't make it. Matty Holmes, I loved. Matty Holmes, really good player. We sold him on to Blackburn. He came from Bournemouth, so obviously there was the Redknapp link when Redknapp went to be Bonds' assistant. And Matty Holmes I just really rated as a player. And also the age I was like, tricky winger with a nice left foot. Love him. And the other one is Antonio, who I haven't included, but I love Mikel Antonio. He's my current favourite West Ham player. But I've gone for Joey Cole.
Yeah.
Again, sort of the timing. I remember when he signed his contract on the pitch at half-time in a cup game. I think it was against Peterborough.
I believe it was that. I believe actually someone corrected me the other day. I believe it was Chelsea. We signed him.
It was
in the league.
And he made his debut. He made his debut the Wednesday after against Peterborough.
Yeah.
And I remember him doing all these like like step overs on the wing. But he was just so exciting, and this applies to another player that we'll talk about shortly. I couldn't quite believe that he was a West Ham player, because there was all this fuss about him being the next bloody everything, the next Gaza, Pele, Maradona, which in the end probably was a bit of a burden on him for most of his career. Because the truth is, he actually reached some real highs. He won the league. He played in World Cups. He scored worldies at international tournaments. Yeah. He was England's player of the season one year. He was Chelsea's player of the season one year. Like, that's an excellent career. But people still say that he underachieved. Well, of course he did when he said he was going to be Maradona at the age of 15. But I absolutely loved him. And that youth team that won the FA Youth Cup with him and Carrick, and it was like Adam Newton was the other one who did all right for a little while. A few of them. Alexander up front. I just got obsessed with them and I was like, I can't believe the most exciting young player in England is a West Ham player. Yeah. And so for a little while he was fantastic. I loved it when he came back. I remember when I took my nephew to his first West Ham game, and Joey Cole, it was his comeback game, 2 assists for 2 headers from James Collins. Absolutely loved it. And we went home singing all about Joey Cole. So I love Joey Cole.
Brilliant. Yeah, we had Bertie Braley on who scored 3 of the 9 goals, and he was really, it was a really good episode, because obviously he spoke about all these players from a player perspective, and really, but that Joe, as you said, Joe, I think from the age of like 14, like 13, 14. He was, as you said, the Gaza, he underperformed, but particularly for England underperformed. So it's like, if England had won a World Cup, and he would still be with it. But anyway, okay, we'll put Joey in. Who's going to go on the other wing then, Benji? To interchange. It
is Yossi Benayoun. So I'm Jewish, and also there's 2 different types of Jew. There's Ashkenazi Jews, who are the European Jews. Yeah. And then there are Sephardi Jews that are kind of more Arab Jews. They lived in sort of North Africa, the Middle East. And my sort of heritage is actually a mix of the two, but I sort of feel very Sephardi. And Yossi Benayoun is a Sephardi Jew. Like his family come originally from Morocco. And of course, we've had a few brilliant Israeli players over the years. Obviously, it was a bit of a coin toss between him and Ayer Berkovic for a winger role, even though Ayer was a bit more central. But the fact that this Sephardi Jew was playing for West Ham and playing wonderfully for West Ham that season, the cup season, he was absolutely brilliant. And what a player! There's that amazing game against Fulham where Anton scores a worldie, and then he scores that worldie, cuts back twice, chips over the keeper. I remember another one as well, away at Sunderland, the 1-1 game where we were crap, and he scored the kind of equaliser in the last 5 minutes. And we were staying over in Newcastle that night with me, my mate Andy, and his brother and his brother's girlfriend. And we had a few drinks after the game. And my enduring memory of that evening, because it was Yossi Benayoun who'd scored the goal, in the middle of Newcastle, me, Andy, and a few other West Ham fans started doing like Jewish dancing and singing Yossi Benayoun to Hava Nagila. So Yossi Benayoun, Yossi Benayoun, and other West Ham fans started joining in. It was just brilliant. I absolutely loved it. So Yossi, I loved. What a player as well. Like real in terms of the quality, the absolute quality that he had. One of the best that I've seen at West Ham.
Yeah, good shout. I thought you was going to say Yanev Kaitan. Do you remember Yanev Kaitan? He played for us for a bit. What a player.
He didn't quite do it.
Didn't quite make it.
Yossi and Ayer, though. Yeah. Amazing players. Yeah, amazing players.
And a guy used to work with my old company. It was a Jewish company, and he was called Yossi, and so he's Joseph, but we called him Yossi. So and my boss was called Benji. So I sort of guessed it, beforehand.
There you go, Benji and Yossi.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so we got Coley on one wing, Yossi on the other wing. Who are we going to have? Who are we going to have in the middle then, Benji?
So again, quick shout out to the ones that didn't make the cut. Yep. Valon Barami, who I loved, who for one season was almost like the perfect defensive midfielder, just an absolute workhorse,
Engine.
And then Scotty Parker, who again, didn't leave perfectly, but not his fault. He just went to a better club. We've been relegated. What can you do? Scott Parker, I thought, was just absolutely magnificent for us for 3-4 years, to the extent that everyone thought he was the captain when he wasn't. It was Matt Upson at the time, but he was a real talisman. And some of the goals, some of the performances, the fact that, again, as a West Ham player, he got into an England team and an England tournament as well. He was he PFA Player of the
I
Year
think the
one
season
year
we
as well?
went down, I think he was he was PFL or Football Writers or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that is extraordinary. But anyway, he hasn't made the team. The two that have are, first of all, Mark Noble. It's a very obvious one. But he's a long way from being the best player I've seen at West Ham.
Yeah.
But one thing that I just think he deserves such credit for is that every year for about 7-8 years now, I've said, this will be the season that we leave Mark Noble behind. And every year he's defied that. And he's a real leader. I think the role of captain is really underestimated in modern football. I think it's one of the reasons, for example, a team like Arsenal have underperformed for about 6 years now, because whilst they've got fantastic players, they've never had any leaders. You know, now they've got like 5 different semi-captains, whatever. For us, that's never been an issue. Since, you know, Noble was already a captain on the pitch when Nolan was there.
Yeah.
And now I think one of the angriest I've been at West Ham in the last couple of years was when someone booed Mark Noble. And I swear, I nearly got up. I actually stood up and shouted at the person that booed Mark Noble, and they shut up. But I was fuming, because it doesn't matter if that guy puts in a bad performance. Like, he is West Ham, and we should be massively grateful for his service and his continual improvement, because it's not that he just like kept up with the rest of the team. He's kept up with the Premier League over all these years. So massive respect to Mark Noble.
And someone was saying the other day, which I didn't really think about until the other, because obviously, you know, it's fair to say 3 seasons ago, everyone thought he was gone. His legs were gone, you know, 60-minute mark, basically. And the last sort of 2 years has been almost this resurgence of the player. And someone made a point the other day, you know, it's almost like with the arrival of Declan Rice, he's improved. And I didn't really think about it until I went back, because obviously Scotty Parker, he was awesome, and it was almost like he was coaching young Mark Noble about the virtues of being a captain. Now it's almost like the other way around. Now Mark is obviously imparting that sort of mentality to Declan, and Declan's obviously doing a lot of the donkey work, really, a lot of the defensive stuff. So Mark doesn't have to do that much. So he can very often play 90 minutes without a problem. And it was
totally. And I think as well, the another person that I considered for this team was Lucas Neill, and it might sound mad, but Lucas Neill was another player whose importance as a captain was more important than his importance as a player. Just because he was, I can't remember who it was I was listening to on the radio. I think it might have been Ginge, saying how Lucas Neill's role as a captain was vital during that period. And I think that, again, with Noble, just the fact that he is the man there. He is the man. He's the one that's going to look after the new arrivals. He's the one that's going to coach the youngsters like Declan. He's the one that's going to pick up players when they're injured and chuck them off the pitch. He's the one that's going to stand up to Pogba when he's trying to bully him. Like, he's just a man, isn't he, Mark Noble? You just got to love him.
Yeah, and he'll be one of those people who'll, you know, when he retires. I mean, I think it was an interview he did a couple of days ago saying, you know, when he retires, he'd like to be a manager West Ham, or he'd like to be director of football. You know, that's what he's going to do, isn't he? He's going to be stuck around the club and being a coach and stuff. I hope so as well. Right, who's going to partner Nobes in the middle of them, Benj?
The best player that I've ever seen play for West Ham, and that is Dimitri Payet.
I was going to say Jonathan Spector, but yeah.
It's Jonathan Spector. I love Spector. Come on, 4-0 against United in the snow. Johnny Specs with 2 headers. Can't forget that. But yes, I think Payet just edges him. I still feel very bittersweet about the whole Payet thing. But his quality was, I mean, better than anyone I'd seen. Yeah. And for that season, again, it was one of these moments. It was like, hold on, one of the best players on the planet is currently playing for West Ham. You know, you think about the goals he scored, the free kick against Palace, you know, the season after when it's all gone a bit sour, the goal against Middlesbrough, the free kick at Old Trafford. More than that, it was just the way he played. He was just an absolute natural. And again, that summer, when he was the best player at the Euros for France, who almost won it, and he scored the winner in their first game. And I was in the pubs being like, I can't believe the best player on the pitch is a West Ham player. Yeah. And of course, that meant that he probably wasn't going to stick around very long. And I wish he hadn't gone in the way he went. But for that season and a half, it was a privilege to watch him play. And And I've never seen a higher quality player in a West Ham top. I really haven't.
Totally agree. And before him, when was the last time we had a Ballon d'Or nominee in our team? Ever.
Yeah. But and do you know what the problem is that unfortunately, that kind of level of genius, you often get the other side of it as well, which is they're difficult.
Yeah.
Look at all the best players in the history of the game. Most of them have been difficult. So maybe what do we expect? I also think that we didn't really build the team around him or build on that season. In the first season in the Olympic Stadium. But anyway, what a joy it was to watch him play.
And as you said, I mean, he left Marseille in a similar way to come to us. Took his toys and ran, and so what do you expect really? But I agree. For that season and a half, he was our technically our best. Agreed. He's probably the best technical player I've ever seen at West Ham. Yeah. Right, nice midfield. Okay, right, let's go for your strikers then, Benji.
Again, a couple that didn't make it. Vaz Tay, who I adored. I remember when I saw him play against us for Barnsley that season, thinking, bloody hell, he's not a Championship player. And I was very pleased we got him. The 6-0 win against Brighton, I think it was, with his hat-trick goal with an overhead kick, the one that got us promoted, amazing. I also, weirdly, had a real soft spot for David Connelly. Remember David Connelly?
Yeah, great player.
And played for us in one of the championship seasons. Just worked so hard and was a little bloke. And when you see a little bloke working so hard up front in the championship, just really, really enjoyed watching him play. But 2 strikers. Number 1 has to be Di Canio. Kind of obvious. I especially liked him. I live in Finsbury Park. All my mates are Arsenal fans. When he basically put Adams and Keown on their arses and then put it past, I think it must have been Seaman if it wasn't Lehman. One of my favourite ever goals. We won 2-0, magic. Di Canio, another quite funny story about the famous bicycle kick goal against Wimbledon. My dad didn't, I used to went with my uncle. My dad didn't come that often to West Ham. He came a couple of times a season at least. And he came to that Wimbledon game and he was a bit late. And he walked up through the kind of up onto the upper tier. And as he got there, he turned round to wave at me because we were sort of maybe 10 rows back, as in I'm here, I'm late, sorry, I'm late. Di Canio scores a scissor kick over his shoulder. So he was in the stadium, he was there, he got there just on time to see Di Canio score one of the greatest goals in Premier League history, but he turned his head to wave at me. Di Canio has to be the one. What a player! Again, he was worth a season ticket price alone for a couple of seasons, wasn't he?
Yeah, no, totally. And that they were replaying a lot of his goals recently, and the ones against Arsenal actually, and obviously, and he famously changed his shorts around. And so if you watch those goals again, and again, I never saw this. Someone told it to me afterwards, but apparently he always thought he played rubbish against Arsenal. So he wore his shorts back to front for that game. And when you see the goal again, like the one where he hits it onto the top left, when he cuts in when we played at Upton Park, he does have his shorts on backwards because you'll see the West Ham sign on the back. You have to go back and watch it. Honestly, it's so funny. So funny. Right, okay. PDC, who's going to partner PDC up front?
It's Carlitos, it's Tevez. Again, much like with that kind of moment with Joe Cole, when I couldn't believe that we had the best young player apparently on the planet. I mean, Payet, when we had the best player in the European Championships. That day when Tevez and Mascherano suddenly went on Sky Sports News. I remember I was walking past the Foxtons, and they always had Sky Sports News in Foxtons, and I looked at it, I was like, what? It just felt so exciting and you knew straight away that something wasn't kosher here. Yeah. But you were like, I'm not going to ask any questions. This is great fun. Yeah. And then, of course, we got this player only for a season who was made to be a West Ham player in that he just worked so hard. He had that kind of feral nature to him, a little bit like Suarez or something like that, who just wanted to win at all costs and would bust every, would exert every iota of energy they possibly could to make it happen. The fact that he didn't score for a little while almost didn't matter. We loved him pretty much from the first 10 minutes. And then, it was just so exciting to have this player who was really considered to be, an elite player playing for West Ham. And the way he played just fitted West Ham so well. And again, we mentioned earlier, there are players who left West Ham in a good way and players who left West Ham in a bad way. I have never seen a player get a better reception coming back to West Ham, to Upton Park, than Tevez. And really, the whole crossed Hammers thing, that's because of him. You know, I don't think that was a thing before that game when he came back.
Yeah,
with,
no, we
with
mentioned
United.
that. Yeah, I can't remember. I think I did the Stop Hammer Time podcast a couple of weeks ago, and we said, when was the last time someone, it was at and Jim reckons that he's seen photos of people. But again, it was dormant for maybe 20 years, maybe properly. But yeah.
And I don't know whether we had it planned or whatever it was, but it was just perfect. You know, he came back to Upton Park. The game was being talked about as the Carlos Tevez game. We were singing Juan Carlos Tevez for like 10 minutes before the kickoff. And as soon as he comes on, he's doing that to all four corners. And you're just like, what a legend. What an absolute legend. And so before and after, after really mostly, I've been kind of obsessed with him. Like, I've got a Corinthians shirt with Tevez. I've got a Boca Juniors shirt with Tevez on it. I've got a Juventus shirt with Tevez. I would kind of, whenever there was an opportunity to watch him play, I'd watch him play. Because I think he really did sort of ingrain himself into West Ham hearts that season, and in the way that he came back, and the way that he came back with the hammer sign. It was amazing, So, can you imagine that strike force? Canio and Tevez.
Well, I just think that the whole team itself, I mean, you know, Payet and Cole and PDC and Tevez and Yoshi as well. You know, it's like there's a lot of skill there. It'll be first the match of the day. That's for sure. Every week,
Mark Noble's got a lot of work to do in that team. A lot of work to do.
But then, you know, Potsy's not going to bomb forward, is he? So that's a great team. So we got Xhaka in goal. We got Julian, Winston Reid, Rio, and Potts in defence. Then we got Joe on the left, and we got Payet and Noble in the middle. Yoshi Benayoun on the right, and then we got PDC and Tevez. That would do a job, wouldn't it? That would do a job.
Can you imagine?
Yeah.
Just entertainers, a lot of them. Like, yes, we are overindulged as West Ham fans, thinking that, you know, there's the West Ham way and all this kind of thing. But we know the sort of players that we love, and it's the Payets, the Canios, and the Yossis and the Tevezes. Oh, lovely.
We play best as a team when we have that enigma player, who will be 2 games, won't kick a ball, and then there'll be 2 games where he's like a world-beating player, you know, and that's.
And the
that's
truth
West
is,
Ham.
you don't mind.
No.
You don't mind losing. You don't mind losing if you get to watch players like that. You know, I don't really care about West Ham being a big club. I just want to have some fun and watch some nice football. You know, and those sort of players are the ones that do it.
And I think even more so now, you know, without anything, I think people just, you know, a bit more realistic now, and I hope, and there'll be people just want to watch football. You know, they don't care. You know, I think just some sort of normality. So. Benji, it's been brilliant. It's been really nice chatting to you. I really appreciate your time.
Thanks,
and obviously, thank you to you all for watching. Obviously, you know what to do. Like, share, comment, whatever you want to do. Watch them all. And until next time, guys, stay safe and take care. Bye-bye, everyone.